Hi, I'm LaWanna Parker, and I am the host of Courage to Live Your Dream. This show is about a number of different things. So if you're going to tune in, you have to tune in each week because it's going to be a variety show, meaning you won't know from one week to the other what I'm going to talk about. That's because I have such an interest in so many things, I could not pin it down to one thing. Everything that I share with you will be to help you live your dreams. I believe that is so important. So sometimes you'll hear me talking about confidence, setting goals, staying motivated when it seems like everything is going wrong. You'll hear me talking about journaling, which I absolutely believe everyone should be doing because journaling is, wow, it's a way to put your thoughts down, to get in touch with who you really are. You can talk to a journal and it won't talk back. Can you believe that? And it won't call your names and say how stupid you are for thinking or feeling the way that you are. And sometimes, if you wait a while, a day or two, or maybe even a few hours, and you pick up what you've written, just might get the answer you were looking for. That's my belief that God is talking to you. Because if you won't listen in other ways, He has found other ways to talk to you, to communicate. So I truly believe that. I accept that. And I hope that you will too. At any rate, you can try it. It won't hurt anything. I'll be sharing with you about things that you can get from journaling. And trust me, there is a lot, probably almost as many things as there are people on planet Earth. Hmm, think about that. Well, let's see now. Yes, I'll talk about astrology sometime or tarot cards another time. And my all-time favorite thing, I will talk about it. I hope it's yours too, because I just absolutely love reading romance stories. So I will talk about books that I have read. Maybe I'll share a chapter or two and encourage you to go buy the book so you can read the rest of it. Hmm, imagine that. And who knows, maybe I'll surprise you by having an author or two come on and share some of the things they've gone through when trying to write. And while I do love my romance, I also like self-help books too. I've read quite a few of them, and I know others who have written self-help books. They've written about things they've gone through and how they conquered. So I will have some of them from time to time come on, or perhaps I'll read something of their book. And again, encourage you to go buy the book so you can get the full story of what they accomplished over their adversities. It's funny how life can be. There are people who have gone through some horrible things and they come on the other side of it, having won their battles. And I like to share their stories because you may be going through the same thing and you're not sure how to get out of it. If I share the story of someone else's situation, it might be the thing that you needed to hear. That's why I believe that anyone who has a story to tell should write it. And I don't care if you publish it. Maybe you just want to put it in a journal, create a legacy for your family, leave something behind that they can remember you by. Many years ago, this is a, I'm sidestepping here a little bit, but I wanted to share about you a book I gave my son when he started kindergarten. He was so happy and so proud to be going to school, and I was so happy and proud that he was going. So I gave him a book called School Days and told him that he needed to fill that book up. Now, it started from kindergarten and it went all the way up to college. However, like most parents, when you start having children, you kind of forget things. And that was one of the things I forgot, that I had given that to him. When my son died in a car accident, and the military sent back all of his personal effects. That book that I had given him in kindergarten was among his personal effects. I had no idea that he had held onto that book all those years and put little things in it. Nothing major. There's a little note here or there, a report card showing what he had accomplished during his school year, a picture from time to time. Um, just little things that boys think about, not a lot like girls. Girls write, oh my gosh, we got to tell the world our story. But it's enough for me because with that book, I have the opportunity to experience all those things all over again with him. I get to see him grow up again from kindergarten to adulthood. I miss his presence, but I'm so thankful that he left that behind for me. It helps a great deal. And although it's been many years since he passed, I still feel the hurt. I still feel that in my heart. And you know how I mentioned, well, I didn't tell you guys, told someone else about sometimes would get upset because I didn't hear God talking to me like he did to other people. But when I lost my son, and one day I was sitting at work, honestly, and nobody's going to tell me otherwise, I sincerely believe it, that I heard my son's voice as he asked me the question, why are you upset? I'm in a better place and you're going to be blessed. I couldn't imagine why I would have that type of a message. But you know what? I was blessed. So I'm believing that my son is truly in a better place. I was blessed with a grandson. From the moment I walked in that hospital and saw him in that big hospital bed, I knew, I knew I would be raising him. And sure enough, I raised him from the baby to adulthood. And he reminds me so much of his uncle, who he never, of course, met. But there's so much about the two of them that's alike that I like to believe that because he left so soon that maybe he came back again in the form of my grandson. I don't know if that's true or not, but it helps. And my grandson was a blessing to me to raise all those years, and he continues to be a blessing. He continues to worry about me, especially since his grandpa, my husband, passed away. He's always concerned about what I'm doing and what's happening. And I appreciate that. But I keep telling you, you got to go live your own life, do your own thing. Well, that's a part of journaling, what my son left for me. It's also one of the first things that crossed my mind when it came to me that I should be teaching journaling. And I remembered that book, and I went and got it out. I looked at it and I thought, this is what I need to be teaching people to create their own legacy that they can leave behind for others. I have a friend who shared with me about, this was before I ever met her. Her husband died of cancer, but her son was having a really rough time handling it. And someone told him he should write down his thoughts and feelings of what he was going through as he watched his father pass. I mean, it's horrible when someone dies of cancer. To see them, it's like they're fading away in front of you. And I know this because my husband died of cancer. I saw this big 6'3" guy who weighed 250 pounds go down to almost skin and bones. And it was a hurting thing to see that happen to him. And that's what her son was going through, watching his father go from the man who had loved him and did things with him, suddenly could no longer do anything for himself. And he still loved his dad and he didn't know how to handle it. So he started writing his feelings, his thoughts. And she tells me that eventually he put that together and he had it published. And I forget the exact title. It was something through the eyes of a teenager. But yeah, she said that helped him so much that he was able to write his thoughts and feelings on paper to get it out of his system. And that's one of the things that about journaling that is so important, because it helps you when you have all these things. Do you realize that some of the stuff we carry around within ourselves that leads to bad health? When you can just put it on paper. You don't have to write every day. You don't have to write a full page. Write a couple of lines if that's all you feel like writing. You could write once a day, once every 3 days, once a week, once a month, however you want to do. It's strictly up to you. But I'm going to share with you over the next few weeks some of the things that you can get from journaling. I encourage you to look into it. I do classes on Monday, so if you'd love to be a, well, if what I'm sharing with you is hitting a button somewhere and you think you'd like to know more about it, reach out to me. Send me an email, LaWanna at lawannaspeaks.com, and I will be happy to give you my link. We can set up an appointment to talk to see if this is what you really want. And there's no charge. And no, I'm not going to try to sell you anything. It's just to see if this is what you want. Because I don't want you to be a part of the group if you think that I am coercing you into doing something. The people I have in there, they're too important to me. We have become good friends. We share things. And whatever is shared in there stays with us. It doesn't go any further. So just wanted you to know about the journaling. You can create a legacy. You can create a book if you've always thought about writing and didn't know how to start or put a book together, what to put on the page. This group is for you because you'll have an opportunity to learn all of that and so much more, because we don't just journal. We talk about some of the very things that I will be sharing here on Courage to Live Your Dream, because I believe it's important. It all goes hand in hand, plays a big part in your life. And I love to see how you blossom. And who knows, if you decide to write a romance story, you just might become my next favorite romance author. And I would be buying your books Trust me, I have enough books that I could start my own store. On my laptop, I've got close to 8,000 books on there. In my house, I've got 10 bookshelves. There's probably about 600 books around here. And on Amazon, I've got about 1,600 books on my Amazon account. So trust me, I love reading and I especially love romance stories. So you write a good story, I will buy it. And if you're really good, I will anxiously sit here waiting for the next one to come out and be in line to buy it. See there, I spend a lot of money on books because I love them. I've been reading since I was ooh, about 9 years old. Started with fairy tales and pioneer stories and mysteries and sci-fi and self-help, and eventually I got to the historical romance, and boy, was I hooked after that. I now read a lot of contemporaries and interracial romance stories. I love those. Absolutely love those. If you haven't read one, you should start reading them. They are very good. We have some authors who obviously love writing those kinds of books and they're good at what they do. Now, not everybody is good. That's with anything. You're not going to find everything perfect. Okay. So if you do that and you happen to get one that isn't so hot, uh, don't worry about it. Just move on to the next author. All right. And some of them are just getting started. And when you're just getting started, you're not going to be good always. Sometimes you get lucky and you put something out the very first thing and it hits. The people love it and you're able to duplicate what you did. And after that, you've got a following that every time you put out a book, they're anxiously waiting for the next one. But most of us, when we first start, we're not real good. So give a person a chance to grow and get better. I said we. I have not written a romance story. I don't know why. You would think that I would since I read so many of them. I guess I'm one of those people who just love reading them. Although here lately, the thought has crossed my mind that maybe I should try. We'll see. Maybe I'll challenge myself to do that, but not right now. Got too many other things that I'm doing. And if I'm going to write a romance, I want to devote my time to make sure that it turns out halfway decent. Okay. Oh, wow, So now you know some things about me. That's the business side. Let me tell you some personal things because I want you to come back. I want you to enjoy this program. And yes, sometimes I will interview people, but for the most part, I'm not going to be doing that because let's face it, I like talking too much. Okay. So I kind of want to keep the time for myself so that I can talk and share the things that I know or that I have learned. And there is a lot. Okay. So first off, let me get started here. Believe it or not, I was a very quiet, shy person growing up. Really super quiet and shy. And I was, how do I describe this? Because it's kind of confusing. Because I was quiet and shy, people didn't always know how to take me. So some summers, people were practically dragging me out the house to come out and play. And other summers, they would just leave me alone to do whatever it was I wanted to do, which was reading books, looking at Westerns, because I grew up when Westerns were the number one thing on TV. And trust me, I looked at almost all of them. even though I had to sit there in front of the TV because we didn't have remote control and flip the channel from station to station to see what was going on in the other Western. I love like sci-fi programs and romance comedies. I love General Hospital. When General Hospital came out, I believe I was 15 or 16 years old, and I just loved it. It was only on for 15 minutes a day, and it was in black and white. They eventually expanded to 30 minutes and then became an hour as it is now. In the same way, when later, when All My Children and One Life to Live came on, they were both 15 minutes in the beginning. Then they went to half an hour and then an hour. So I've been around for a long time. And as I like to tell people, I was born in the first half of the last century. Okay. Now, how much into that last century? Yeah, I'll tell you one day, not today. Okay. So growing up that way, I, as a teenager and whatnot, because I always had my head in a book, people thought I was a bookworm, or as you call them today, nerd. Okay. What they didn't know was that it wasn't the educational material I was reading. I was either reading a book or a comic book because I discovered comics when I was 12, I think it was. I knew about Batman and I knew about Superman and Captain America and Captain Marvel. But I found out about Marvel comics and I fell in love with those characters that Marvel came up with. Wow, Fantastic Four and Thor and the Hulk and Captain America. My gosh, there were so many characters that they came up with. Later it was Spider-Man, and I just love them because they Marvel made their characters seem more realistic and something that happened 2 books before they might mention in another story 2 or 3 books later. So it was like they intertwined things. Whereas with DC Comics, everything ended. It was the end and like started over all again. Really didn't like that. But then there was also, let's see, that was Patsy Cline. No, Patsy, oh, I can't remember her last name. But it was a comic book, and there was Katie King Comics. And of course, I read the Archies. Hmm. I'm telling you, I was a reader. I truly love reading. And so people thought I was a lot smarter than I really was because they weren't paying attention to what I was reading. And I continued that as an adult. And when my sister got married, her husband found out how many comics I had. And I had this collection in this big suitcase that was almost like a trunk. And he asked if he could read them. And like a dummy, I let him take the whole thing. I mean, he's my brother-in-law. He's gonna bring them back, right? Wrong. I never saw those books again. He always had an excuse. And eventually I realized I was not getting my comic books back. He and my sister, they ended up getting a divorce. So that was the end of that. Wow. You didn't want to know all of that, did you? Well, I did get married, and I was married to one man for over 50 years. 50 years, 4.5 months to be exact. Between us, we had 4 boys. When we got married, we came into the marriage, each one of us had a son, and together we had 2 more sons. I raised a niece, and then later we raised our grandson. I lost my husband to cancer. It's almost 2 years ago now. I do miss him being around. Um, he um, he was a decent man. I'm I have to tell you because he never complained about me being an active person. I mean, I was involved in so many things, and he never complained. He just always said, "Just remember, you are married, and there's nothing open after 2 o'clock in the morning except motels and legs, and yours better not be among them." So, as long as I remembered that I was married, he was okay with whatever I wanted to do. So I'm thankful for that, and I never felt the need to go out looking for anyone else. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I didn't look. I mean, gosh, all these good-looking guys walking around, of course I looked. I didn't act on the looks though. So we had over 50 wonderful years, and I'm sorry that he's no longer with me. I miss him, truly miss him. But he left me 4 sons, well, 3 sons, because one is gone. 3 sons, 15 grandchildren, and so far 7 great grandchildren. So plenty of company. And this the only reason that I'm still here in California. I have all these grandchildren and great grandchildren. Otherwise, I would be following everyone else, moving to Texas or Louisiana, maybe even Nevada, I don't know. 'Cause I just would like to leave here. I'm just tired of California. Okay, enough about me. You'll learn other things over the next few weeks uh, as we as you tune in to my program. Again, this is Courage to Live Your Dream. I'm LaWanna Parker. I am the host, and I'm also the co-founder of Courage to Live Your Dream. We are a part of the Raven International Media Network, and you can find us on iHeart, America, let's see, Amazon Fire, and Roku, just to name a few. Okay. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to you coming back next week. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I haven't decided yet. So you're just going to have to tune in to find out. And I hope that you like it enough that you want to stick around and hear the whole thing. It won't be boring, okay? Today was important for you to get to know who I am and what I'm about and what this show is going to be all about. So each week you will have to tune in to find out what's going to be happening the next week. Because if I tell you that we're going to talk about one thing and something else more exciting comes along, I don't think I could wait a second week to tell you. I want to tell you right then. So until next time, please, 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 please stay safe. Take care of yourself. Remember, COVID is still running rampant. So don't get overly confident and think you're going to be all right or nothing's going to happen to you. Stay safe and always keep the faith.